Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 23rd episode of Limerick Junior Soccer Focus. Joined once again by Aidan Ryan here with myself, Adrian Finnin, also as well, as we look to divulge through plenty of action on the pitch last weekend in the Limerick District League. Aidan, no better place to start than Pike Rovers' victory over Ballynanty Rovers. I know there was a slight joke or slight quip between ourselves that whatever about 1-0 to the Arsenal, in these big games it can be 1-0 to Pike, and they've been masters at it in the past, in fairness, in the last few years. But Stephen McGann, wonder strike, wins the game for Pike.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see us, Adrian. Surprised at the crowd. I thought there'd be a bigger crowd at the game, but obviously the rugby match might have put paid to that. So the people that were at the match were very privileged to see what I would certainly term as goal of the season after about 7 or 8 minutes. An absolute wonder strike from about 30 yards on the volley. And unfortunately for Stephen McNamara, all he could do was watch it sail past him. Absolutely fantastic goal from a player, Adrian, who had a fairly prominent influence on the game throughout. Thought he played very well. Seemed back to his old self. A couple of games I've been watching lately, he wasn't at his best. But he looked back to his very best on Sunday, along with a couple of other Pike players. And you had a situation, Adrian, where Balla were chasing the match so early. And they were on the back foot really after that goal went in. I thought Pike managed the game very well throughout. Balla didn't create a whole lot from play and were reliant on set pieces. Now, I will say that the delivery from James Fitzgerald's set pieces were top notch. But given that Ballynanty were without Aidan Hurley, Josh Adams, and Thomas O'Connor, who came into the game but didn't start, and given they were out those three, who would have been a huge threat on the end of those free kicks and corner kicks, I don't think Pike had any trouble giving away too many corners and frees, which they did in the last 20 minutes, but they defended them very well. And as I said, Balla weren't a threat from play, didn't really create a chance from open play. I thought Pike were probably worthy winners on the day, Adrian.
Yeah, and obviously Pike maintain a 7-point lead ahead of Fairview Rangers, who we will get on to soon, Aidan. But, you know, does this all but end the hopes of Ballynanty Rovers on the league front?
I would think so. I mean, you're talking about Pike now, Adrian, been on 38 points. Ballynanty on, 26, is it?
Yeah, 12.
So, yeah, 12 with a game in hand, but games in hand mean nothing. They're not points on board. So, listen, it's obvious that other priorities take precedent now. But you'll also have to question maybe where other priorities taking precedent anyway, Adrian, because, you know, didn't have what we'll call a full 11 out on Sunday, had the full 11 out the previous Sunday, and didn't have the full 11 out the previous Sunday to that in their defeat to Nina. So you'll have to question maybe they were looking at other priorities anyway.
Yeah, could be the case. Aidan, I suppose looking at the game that was played on Saturday night, actually, Fairview Rangers, as I mentioned, beating Nina 2-0 in their game at the Fair Green. I suppose the one major thing to take out of that, Aidan, is in some ways for the neutral, they'll be saying it's very well that Fairview won, because at least it maintains a title race, because, I mean, it could have been very dangerous there with Pike winning if Fairview didn't win. With all due respect to Nina, obviously I'm not wishing a defeat now, but, you know, Fairview have ensured that there will be a title race for at least another couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was vital that we spoke about that. You know, you've got to be winning these games, Adrian. Again, no disrespect to Nina, but it was like Balla going out to Nina a few weeks ago and losing. I mean, if you have aspirations of winning leagues, you've got to be winning these games. And to be fair to Fairview and Pike at the moment, they're putting the points on board, and Fairview are keeping the league title race alive, because it looks like it's certainly narrowing down to 2 now, which is kind of ironic, Adrian, given that we were talking about maybe how competitive our top 6 was going to be. You know, the way things are shaping up with 5 or 6 games to go, it's down to 2. And, you know, you got to give Pike a lot of credit. Obviously, they have only they have the league, the Lawson, and the TUI to concentrate on, but they have been superb in this league this season so far. Absolutely superb. Only conceded 2 goals. And as I said, Didn't look like they were going to concede a goal on Sunday either, Adrian. And the minute Robbie Williams came onto the pitch with 25 minutes to go, you could see that, we're slagging it off, the 1-0 to the Pike. But the minute he was coming on, that's what we were saying on the sideline, the few of us that were together, that he was shutting up shop. He took off Colin Daly, he brought himself on, and he said, that was it, we'll take the 1-0. And they saw it out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting point that you made about the top six, Aidan, because we obviously have discussed it in depth for the last 3 to 4 weeks. There's two ways of looking at it, really, isn't there? I know now it is a 2-horse race, really, barring an absolute miracle. But, you can say maybe, Pike and Fairview, we were expecting them to be there. But you look at it then, and you can take it 2 ways. You can say Regional and Nina, are they stronger? Are they making more of an impact this year? Or are you looking at saying maybe Ballynanty have taken their eye off the ball because of the Munster Junior and the FEI, and that Ashley and Annacotty are weaker this season? I suppose the latter is probably the stronger argument for the neutral, isn't it?
Yeah, well, at the start of the season, we were looking for a tighter race, Adrian. We felt that Ashley might provide that, didn't we, with the squad strength they had, with the players that John had signed, and he had a very strong squad, and that seemed to blow up there before Christmas. We were looking for Regional, obviously, and Nina to improve, maybe not challenge, but certainly improve and cause a bit of grief in there in terms of the top 3 or 4, and to a certain extent, they have kept their side of the bargain so far. But we're looking at it now, and we're feeling that maybe Aisling and Balla have let us down a bit. I was expecting a huge title challenge from Ballynanty, I don't mind saying, and it's come off the rails in the last few weeks with the 2 defeats, and in those 2 league games, Adrian, it must be noted as well that they haven't scored any goal. They also didn't score a goal against Killarney Celtic in the FEI, which is another thing, but they haven't scored in the last 3 matches. It's been a disappointing few weeks in terms of the league, there's no doubt about it. And it looks now at the moment as if it's down to a 2-horse race. And as I say, you've got to give Pike a lot of credit. They're just plowing along, getting their results, managing the games well. And certainly the goal we saw on Sunday from Steve McGann was worthy of winning any league game.
I think I probably already know the answer, Aidan, before I even ask the question. But can you understand why maybe Ballynanty have tailed off in the league? Or did you expect with that squad that they would be able to challenge on 3 fronts right to the end?
I did. I thought they would challenge on us, yeah, I did. Look, they're going to throw out the fact that they've a lot of high-profile games and they might be resting a couple of fellas. Obviously, you have a few fellas that are injured on that. But, my idea of challenging for trophies, Adrian, is that you play your strongest team every single week. You've no guarantee that you're going to win any of them. And your season can blow up in your face very, very quick. And you've got to keep your hand inside and everything. If you have a chance to win in that league, you've got to stay in touch. Make sure you're getting up a few points. Even a draw on Nina, Adrian, would have sent them into the Pike game in good state, wouldn't it? It would have kept them in touch. But the fact that they lost in Nina, I think in terms of the league, that was a bit of a death knell, really. And you were meeting a team in Pike who are banging form and who know how to get through these league games. And the fact that they scored so early had given them something to hang on to. And it's so hard to break down that Pike defence, no matter who you've on in the pitch. And Balla had a decent front 3 or 4 and still didn't look like scoring, Adrian, from play. It just didn't look like they were going to open them up. Yeah,
we always talk about the Pike experience, and one player who is still relatively inexperienced age-wise anyway is Adam Lipper, who would have been playing next to Pat Mullins in the defence as well on Sunday. What have you made of his season, Aidan, and do you feel he could be a bit of a successor to Pat Mullins when he does eventually stop playing?
Yeah, very, very hard to emulate Pat Mullins. Pat Mullins was outstanding Sunday.
I'm not trying to get rid of him or anything,
He was absolutely outstanding Sunday, giving out in terms of defending. Once again, I've seen it several times this year, winning your tackles and your headers, distributing the ball well, leading the team, not getting involved with the referee, not getting involved with opposing players, just getting on with the game and playing his football. And certainly Adam Lipper has a good tutor alongside him in terms of that. Lots of potential, Adam Lipper, Adrian. You can see us is certainly redefining the basics of the game well in terms of his own performances. Certainly is a long way to go, but look, he's learning from the best. I thought they also had a very good performer, Adrian, in Kyle Duhigg.
That was an interesting one I was going to ask you about, Aidan, because, obviously you see like Robbie Williams coming off the bench, but Shane Walsh was on the bench as well, two players you'd expect to be there. And I know Colin Daly was next to him, but Kyle Duhigg seems to have played in a lot of the big games for Pike this year, to be fair.
Yeah, and I was very impressed with him Sunday. Kind of goes under the radar a bit, Adrian, because he's very quiet on the pitch, but goes about his job very well, playing in that kind of sixth role and distributing the ball. Has been a problem for him, and I thought it was a problem for him Sunday, but his work off the ball was absolutely outstanding. Tackling, header, covering all across the pitch, doubling up to help the full-backs when they needed help. For a very young player, I thought he was very mature in his performance. And I thought those three players, McGann, Duhigg and Mullins were outstanding, I have to say. And those two young players, Lipper and Duhigg, are certainly going to be the future of Pike going forward. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, certainly. So from one end of the table to the other end, Aidan, we mentioned how much of a pivotal weekend it was going to be in the relegation battle, and it turned out to be just that. Charleville getting a 2-0 victory over Janesborough on Saturday night. You go into Sunday morning and you have Mungret Regional getting a invaluable 3-1 win against Crewe Park, especially after going 1-0 down in that game as well. The character that Richie Burke so badly needed from his team to be shown following the defeat against Airlines as well in the Lawson Cup. I can't help but say Charleville top of the bottom section and your pick Borough at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm sure now yourself and Madam Castle, Adrian, are already planning the victory bus down to the main street in Charleville. You just want to watch what time you're going to travel down there, because as you know, the traffic is very bad in the evening.
Oh, that's it.
So that victory parade with the shields, which you can start planning now, given that Charleville are on 26 points. Listen, a brilliant victory again for Adam Castle and the troops out there. Worrying times for Janesborough, Adrian, who can't seem to buy a goal at the minute. Now, by all accounts, Janesborough played some fantastic football during the match. But listen, you can play all the fantastic football you want. It's points you need. And Shana Hanlon will know that better than anybody. And I keep saying they're running out of games. You're down to 5 games now, I think. 2 of them against Mungret.
Yeah.
So, they're going to be cup finals the way things are going. Mungret on to 17 points after a brilliant victory on Sunday morning against Crewe. And I did say to you, Adrian, last week that if Crewe took the lead in this match, that they'd be very hard to peg back, because given the experience they have on the pitch, they'd know how to manage the game out. Well, fair play to Richie Burke and the team, because they blew that out of the water. And Richie Burke is doing something, Adrian, that is one of the most difficult things to do in football. He's playing in the team himself at the minute.
Yeah.
You're a player manager at Premier level. I've been there myself. It's very, very hard to do it. And he gets a lot of credit for that, to be able to manage the team, coach the team, play in the team, and drum up a couple of results like he has lately. Absolutely fantastic. Huge win for them, on to 17 points. Kuna looking over their shoulders now as well. So you still have 3 teams down there who are going to be fighting it out. But listen, worrying times for Janesborough. Can't seem to get a point or a goal at the moment. It's certainly worrying times for them, Adrian, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And just before I come on to Janesborough again, to pick up on your point about Richie, I know Richie was the same age as me growing up, and I'd be playing against him. I did comment to him a couple of times about whether he was going to come back into the team, but I did actually, after seeing him 2 times earlier in the season, I did actually feel like they needed a Richie Burke of old in that squad. He was quite tenacious as a player, and in that battle, you need people like that, I would have thought.
Yeah, and I look, they seem to have lost Donny Curtin, I noticed lately. Obviously, Donny's taking a step back. I know that there's work commitments and stuff like that, and family commitments. I think he was on the bench on Sunday for them. And after that, who have you got? You've got Aled Harkin. You don't have a huge amount of experience there. So Richie's will play a vital role in the middle of the field for him in terms of his experience. And listen, great to see young McNicholas. I think he came off the bench, Adrian, didn't he?
Yeah, scored, yeah.
Yeah, what an impact. And following on in his father's footsteps. I know his father's still banging in goals out in the Desmond League for Pike Rovers. Listen, it's brilliant, isn't it? And great to see them getting the 3 points. A vital 3 points. We look at their 6-pointers these games. So they're in a decent position at the moment if they can follow through now with the next game, which obviously will be another huge game for them.
Yeah, certainly the case. Aidan, where do you go if you're Shane O'Hanlon, I suppose, really, because your team is, I assume, just judging by results, because I haven't seen Jonesborough in so long, to be honest with you, in the flesh, just judging by results, really shorn of confidence. And like, when you're in that kind of mire, where do you go? What do you say to your players to try and get them out of it?
Well, you still have to go back in the training ground, Adrian. You have to work out what is going wrong. And at the moment, listen, I suppose everything is going wrong. Conceding goals, not scoring enough themselves, despite the fact that they're playing good football, Adrian. Now, I have seen them a few times. I saw them recently against Kuna, where they lost the game, unfortunately for them, 2-1, having led 1-0 at the time. But played good football, but it's all about getting results, and he's going to have to devise a plan where they're going to stop conceding those goals and see can they nick something and hold on to it, because they need points. And sometimes maybe you have to change the system and tweak with it a little bit. My own opinion, I've said this a few weeks ago, I thought they lost a good player in Killian O'Shea. I thought he was going to be an important player for them on the run-in, because he's capable of scoring goals. He can play up front and get in behind teams. So I thought he was a big loss for them. But it's back in the training ground. You have to get to work. You have 5 games left. And Adrian, at the moment, you're looking at trying to win 3, certainly 4 of those games if you want to stay up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really going to be a nail-biting end for those teams at the bottom. Aidan, we'll just go on to the Lawson Cup game, and it's one we pinned that was probably going to be close-ish, considering regional dispatch of Annacotty with relative ease in the league recently. Annacotty responded, Aidan, with a victory in this one, and a really important one.
Yeah, and I got to see this game as well, Adrian. So I was busy enough again on Sunday. Thought Ashling did really well, Adrian. I questioned, the reaction of the team when they were going a goal behind in recent matches. Well, listen, they certainly had their homework done in terms of that, because they were behind after 2 minutes in this game. Now, I questioned the legitimacy of the goal, because I thought Joel Custrain was fouled in the build-up to it, and I also thought Rory Castlery was offside when he scored the goal. Now, I had a perfect view of it because I was behind the goals when he scored. So in fairness to the referee, Andy Hall, who had a fantastic match other than that, he had a lot of ground to make up to see if it was offside, and it was hard to do that. But Ashling came back well in the first half, Adrian, without threatening regional. I thought they dominated the game. Played the better football, but didn't create a whole lot from play, really. I thought regional were quite comfortable in terms of that. Liam Quinn equalised with a penalty, and I gotta hand the kudos to Andy Hall here. Ashling's new signing, Tom Kidd, was fouled in the box. No, he didn't go down, Adrian, and as you know, sometimes to win a penalty you have to go down, even though you might have been fouled. He didn't go down, but the referee gave the penalty, and I thought it was the correct decision, and Liam Quinn put it away with a plum. 1-1. Didn't commit it to Cardinal still. Ashling tuned off, conceded a goal almost straight away. Owen Duff, 2-1. But they came back and scored from another set piece with the centre-half Richkoff, who was alarmingly all alone in the box from 6 yards out, Adrian. Really criminal goal to concede. I'm sure Sean Russell will be tearing his hair out over it. I thought the goalkeeper was poor. He should have done better. And I thought whoever was down to mark Richkoff was missing in action. And the winning goal came about 10 minutes later. And again, it was a poor goal from Regional's point of view. Corner kick put into the 6-yard box. And Liam Quinn, who I thought was very influential in the second half, I thought he had a great second half, got a header in and scored the winning goal from about 6 yards. And you'd have to say, overall, Adrian, Ashling deserved their win. A lot hungrier, controlled the football a lot better than Regional did. and a couple of good performances. Again, Shane Carmody impressed me in the 6. Thought Liam Quinn was very good in the second half, Adrian. Thought he kind of dictated the pace of the game. And I thought the centre-half, Richcoff, had a very good outing as well, Adrian. They deserve to win the match.
Yeah, good win for Annacotty, and they continue, obviously, the build-up to the 2 Cup final, which will be on fairly soon, you'd imagine, as well. And I suppose Regional United now have no time to dwell on that. They have to, bounce back fairly quick as they host Avondale in the quarter-final of the Munster Junior Cup, which is on this weekend on Sunday. So, it's as I just said, absolutely no time to dwell for Sean Russell and his players now, because this is a massive weekend for that club.
Massive weekend for them. I'm expecting them to come through the game, Adrian. Avondale have beaten Bridge, haven't they? And they caused the shock, I suppose, beating Nina. So I expect Regional to come through the game. And listen, Regional have worked hard to get to this stage of competition. I mean, they beat Blarney, I think, in the earlier round out of town, and then they beat Villa, obviously 4-0, which was the shock of the round, certainly in terms of the scoreline. So I'm sure Sean Russell will get him back in the training ground during the week and get him at it. I'm expecting him to come through the game, and I'm expecting to see a reaction, having been beaten by Ashing in that Lawson Cup.
Yeah, not to put too much pressure on the Limerick teams this weekend. Another Limerick team who I'm expecting to come through, Aidan, is Ballynanty Rovers, who take on College Corinthians. Obviously more difficult when you have an away from home draw, Aidan, but that, Ballynanty be used to that at this stage, especially considering their FAI Junior Cup conquests. We spoke here a couple of weeks ago after they lost to Nina, and I spoke to Dave Dunphy at the time and said, he'd need a response from his players. They responded with a win over Killarney at that time, and he'll be looking for very much the same here in the provincial tournament.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get it, and I think it's a good tie for them, even though it's away from home, Adrian. College Corinthians struggled to beat Rear Cross in the last round 2-1 from North Tip. They're kind of mid-table down in the Junior Premier in the Munster Senior League. I think they've lost 4 or 5 out of 10 games. So this is a good fixture for Balla. Again, depending on the line-out, we'll see who's in the first 11. You would still expect them to come through the game, and we want as many teams in the semi-finals of this cup as possible. Hopefully Balla will come through it.
Yeah, and on paper, as we've mentioned before, Fairview Rangers with the toughest task of the round. Second placed in the Tipperary Premier League, Peak Villa, who we know obviously conquered, beat Pike Rovers among others in the FAI and this tournament as well. Now, they are second. The St. Michael's are behind them in the Tip League, Aidan, with 7 wins from 7. So there's a bit of lopsided fixtures in the Tipperary League. But that won't make any difference on Sunday when Fairview travel there for a 3 o'clock kickoff. Yeah,
this is going to be a really tough game, and certainly on paper. Now, listen, the game is played on grass, so we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a tough fixture for Fairview. And having been knocked out of the FAI, Peakville will be very disappointed, given that they had beaten Pike and then to fall to Killarney Celtic. But they had 2 reasonable wins. They beat Riverstown, they beat Springfield. They had no game last weekend, Adrian. I think their game was postponed, so that won't have helped matters, because they'll have wanted a game before playing Fairview. Fairview obviously had beaten Waterford Crystal on penalties. Got back on track a little bit with that and beat Nina in the league the weekend. So, listen, it's going to be a tough fixture. They're not firing on all cylinders, Fairview, lately, are they, Adrian? Especially their front men, not playing as well as I would have expected. I would have expected a bit more from them.
There is a little trepidation in the camp, not in the actual playing camp, but around the club, I feel, going into this one, Aidan.
Yeah, it's a huge game. They're behind in the league. Pike are in control of that at the moment. It's in Pike's hands. So, it's a tricky one for them. Hopefully Paul will have them ready for it, and they'll go out and play with confidence and play the type of football we know they're capable of playing. And I also hope they have a dry sod down there, Adrian. The weather hasn't been great in terms of you'd want a dry sod. I saw Peak Villa playing Pike in terrible conditions, and they were excellent. So I would like to see a dry sod there. I think a dry sod there, I think it would suit Fairview if the ground was nice and firm, in terms of how they play the game, especially with the 4-3-3 that they play.
And from what I believe, the weather forecast is not supposed to be very good as well for the weekend, which definitely wouldn't help matters, obviously. To finish on a local note in terms of the Limerick District League and the start of the madness this weekend with the divisional cups beginning and the road to Japan Park. But to be fair, at least when these cups start, I know from playing in Premier A, we're already out of the cup. So there's nothing to play for at the end of the season. I know at Lunker are also out, but at least for the clubs who may be struggling down the bottom of these leagues or maybe in mid-table, this kind of has the ability to re-energise the season, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing what the cups do, Adrian, isn't it? You'll have managers on Sunday now with 20 and 21 players turning up for the fixture. When for a league game last week, he was probably phoning them at 10:30 before the 11 o'clock kickoff to wonder are they up out of bed yet. It's cup fever, there's no doubt about it, and it brings the best out of clubs and it brings the best out of teams. And listen, it's fantastic because you have something at the end of it to fight for. So it'll be interesting to see the results come Sunday evening. Listen, teams will be up for it, and the games should be tight, given that they're divisional cups, shouldn't they? So it's something for the players to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could be wrong in you, Aidan, but I don't believe you're a big rugby man, and it's probably just as well with your fixture against Maru on Saturday night for Lunkard Villa on the Astro at 7 o'clock. I know it's not quite clashing, but it's not far off it.
No, I'll be going out. Listen, I've been obviously, people know, tagging out for the A squad lately to help them out because they've been short numbers. So I'll definitely be making a beeline for that and hoping Sunday to get down to Thurles, Adrian, to watch Peak Villa and Fairview, because I feel it'll be a fantastic football game.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do wish the Limerick sides the best of luck in the Munster Junior Cup. And hopefully, Aidan, we could have a bumper weekend in Limerick with two of them facing off against the other sides and another side on the other side of the semi-final draw. So that would be the hope, obviously, as well. My thanks once again to Aidan, obviously, for giving the rule over all the action from last weekend. He's a busy man, and he'll probably be busier, I suppose, as we come to the business end of the season. I'll be hoping to join him at games very, very soon. So thanks once again, and we hope to see you